the difference.
Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lowdown podcast, the branch of the weekend podcast.
It's the London Lowdown.
Jack Doherty, podcast regular Steve McGrath, and podcast regular William Bryant. How are you all doing this evening, guys?
Good, Sean.
Good, thanks.
All good. Yeah, no, all good. Getting ready for the big game Thursday. Really looking forward to it. Liverpool, Chelsea games they always bring a good showing. Even when we get bet, they're usually good games. But when you think back to the Champions League games years ago, you're not going to top those really, I don't think. But
I thought you meant the big London derby, Spurs and Fulham.
that on Thursday as well, is it, Steve? Yeah. No, just in terms of the teams, on Thursday, kind of obviously we see in Liverpool have been wicked depleted this year. A lot of injuries, a lot of players missing. Jack, there's talks of Fabinho and Jota and that being back for Thursday night, is there?
Yeah, there's talk. I'd say Fabinho will be in and around the squad anyway. I can't see him throwing them straight in, after being out for a few weeks, and he'd be at risk to throw back in straight away. Although you'd love to see him in there because we're fairly dodgy enough at the back, two young lads. It'd be a point for Chelsea to get at. If you see that two of them centre half, you're going to target them. They don't look too good with the long balls in the channel and stuff like that. They look kind of shaky enough. Look, if you're a Chelsea side, any team now, you think you can get at Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's when I seen the kind of news about Fabinho and stuff. I wasn't too sure whether, like you said, he probably won't be thrown straight back in. But when I seen that, I was kind of disappointed because I was thinking straight away we can target the two centre backs, kind of a best chance. Because to be honest with you, Liverpool are the full side, the team they had last year. I wouldn't be confident whatsoever. But with Van Dijk missing and stuff, kind of gives me a small bit of confidence. But no, Fabinho, if he's anyway fit and he gets back in there, he's going to make a big difference. But Chelsea now, it's obviously just kind of Silva was the only one that wasn't fit the last week or two, but he's back. But Fabinho, I can't see us throwing him straight in there either, because obviously Christensen, if you're playing the back two, he can be dodgy. But when we switch to the back three, he's been playing fairly well there in the centre. So I don't see any reason to kind of drop him come Thursday. So I'd probably just ease Silva back into it, like you were saying with Fabinho, to ease him back in. I think it's the most logical thing.
If you're going off your performance against United, I watched the game, I thought they were far the better side second half. They could have went on and won the game. So I don't see why he changed anything. I think he could go with the same 11 that you went with. Maybe, I don't know if Tanya can, but Giroud has been doing well for you, so you might just go with the same side. I'd probably take out Adoi and probably play James or something.
Yeah, because obviously, protection around him there, he's better defensive.
Man,
Yeah, and Mane is very, very dangerous. On his day, he's the best player in the league, I think. But, I think, obviously, like I said, Giroud's in there. But I think against Liverpool, I might look for a different option, because Liverpool obviously press high in that, and kind of high line doesn't suit Giroud. If we have Giroud up there, we're not going to have anyone really to run in behind. Liverpool will have all the reason to be kind of pressing very high in that. So I might change that up a bit, but from an outside view, Steve, what's your opinion? Obviously Liverpool have been depleted. We've seen a lot of it on social media this year, and obviously they haven't got too much sympathy from rival fans over the year. But how are you seeing that? And the players coming back, do you think Liverpool are going to have a bit of a push now with the players back?
Well, you'd imagine so. I mean, one of the things that this has shown, I think, a lot of other clubs is that it's given clubs the confidence to go at Liverpool. Which over the last 2 seasons nobody really did. Everybody was fearful of them and just tried not to lose, whereas I think clubs kind of see now, geez, there might be a chance here, there's little cracks here and there, they're having a go at them. And I think because you have to remember, Van Dijk and everything was there when Villa won 7-2, so it wasn't a case that it was they were depleted at that stage. But I think for any club, having the likes of Jota and Fabinho coming back, there's going to be a big boost. Even if you're in that squad and you're training and you see them lads coming back into the fray, You know, that's going to give you a boost mentally as well. That because nobody likes losing. Do you know? So I think having those players coming back gives you a bit of a boost, a bit more positivity amongst it. That like there's kind of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of getting the squad back. But I still feel as if even Liverpool back to full strength, I don't feel would be the same Liverpool as they were last season. I think the way the season's gone now, teams are going to start to go at them a bit more and will try and attack them a bit more. You know, they were given an awful lot of respect the last couple of seasons, and rightfully so. They were lethal, absolutely lethal. I mean, like you see, like I was very disappointed when we played them to see how we went out against them, considering how close we were at home. You know, only losing like the 90th minute header. So to see the way we played against them second time around, and seeing other clubs of lower caliber than us then play against Liverpool and go at them, and seeing that they got results from it.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. Just like on the arm, like kind of last like 2 seasons, I think the way Klopp plays, kind of like it's a lot of high energy, and like it's a big demand on the kind of players. Like, because Liverpool have they're the best kind of, probably when you're full strength, they're the best 11 in the league. Obviously, we all kind of know, like maybe their bench isn't the strongest in that, but over the years, like kind of the side Klopp plays, maybe they might need a bit of a refresh in the summer, kind of bring a couple of new faces in. That might give them another boost going into next year. Like, but I suppose kind of the target this year now is to try and get that Champions League spot, and then just build on it in the summer now. See what happens from there.
They've sold 10% FSG. Well, they're selling 10% of their stake in the club as well, FSG.
Yeah, so I wonder, is that going to be kind of bringing money into to spend on players? Because I do think they need to do it, because obviously, like I said, the first 11 there is absolutely brilliant in that, but like it won't do any harm to bring in a few new faces in the summer again. So
yeah, you do have to keep doing that, you know, keep rebuilding. Like United for years always brought in players. You need it, like, because the way Klopp plays as a player, like, geez, you're never going to keep doing that for year in, year out, year in, year out. It's impossible. Like, you need to keep pressing it up, you know.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Like Spurs are paying the price for that now, even like from the 2 windows where we didn't buy anybody, and everyone's like, geez, that's mad. Spurs bought nobody, but they're still doing so well, and everyone says, but like you still got to a Champions League final, but like we were paying the price in terms of, like, our league form was crap.
Yeah.
You know, and like look at us now. I mean, like we played a game in January there where 7 out of the 11 that started the game were at the club since 2015, 2016. I mean, there's not another club in the Premier League that would have that in the starting 11. You might have them around the squad, but not in the starting 11. It's crazy.
And look at the difference. The Champions League final, and now look where you are now. Like, you're not kicking on. No, that's the difference. Like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And like, touching on that, even City now, even they're going to walk the league this year. Even in the summer, they're still going to add the 1 or 2 faces at least to keep it fresh. Like, even if you win league titles, the worst thing you can do really is, if you win a league title, kind of just to sit and rest on your laurels, not bringing any new players, and just kind of like Steve was touching on there with Spurs, like when they got to the Champions League.
When you don't win a league title and you still rest on your laurels.
Just don't freshen it up, and they can go stale there. Like, but
like they go through bad spells, you know. Look at City, the way they started out. Everyone, like, you were saying that Liverpool, when Van Dijk, they had that one freak off result, but your City had that against Leicester too, you know. It was, I wouldn't really look at that as like United. You bet United 6-1 at Old Trafford, you know. Then they had the City getting better home, battered by Leicester. You had us getting battered by Villa, you know. It was really freak results, but they've just kicked on another level now again, you know. So like everyone had a real rough start, you know.
Like
the start when Spurs were top of the table, City were 12 points behind us, and now City are like 20 points ahead of us. That's
mad.
A mental turnaround. Like,
there's a lot of
12 points ahead of second.
Yeah, like a lot of lesser teams actually dished out hidings to the bigger teams this year. Look, Arsenal beat us 3-1, like, and like you had Villa with Chi as well. So
it's to do with crowds, you know. I think it's a lot to do with the fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, has a big effect on it. I think definitely.
It does. Especially the low teams, because they've no pressure, you know, on them in the stadium, and fans getting on to them because they're not coming. Another way of managers, the lower end teams, they sit in, like, you know, and the crowd keep getting on to them. Now they just have no one really, you know, so it helps. Like.
Yeah, and definitely, like, I know they're professional players, but there's definitely some players that they're probably in training week in, week out, and they're scoring worldies, running and training. And when it comes to games, front of the big crowds, they mightn't be producing, but now they don't have those big crowds, so they could be
helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Less of a chance for stage fright.
Yeah. William, what's your opinion on the whole injury front with Liverpool this year? And
Jesus, it's been a nightmare for him. I mean, you can say, they didn't really bring in a lot of new players, but even the players that they did bring in, you think about it, it was Jota, Thiago. Once they came in, Jota hit the ground running. Then he gets injured and still hasn't come back yet. Hopefully he's coming back around the squad, and he's been probably the biggest miss to Liverpool's attacking lineup. I mean, at Anfield this season, Mane's only scored like 1 goal all season at Anfield, which is mental. He just offered a mix of competition and freshness into the squad and a little bit more like dynamism into his play that it was someone else that you had to worry about. And when you've already got to worry about Salah, Mane, Firmino, it's very tough for other teams to come in. So once they lost that, you're stuck with the same front three that you've had for the last 2 years that players are like, you don't necessarily get used to them, but you learn how to play them better and nullify their strengths. And then players also know they're probably going to be playing nearly week in, week out, may not be as motivated as if Jota was in there actually taking initiative and putting my place in the spot, and it's like, and if you want to play ahead of me, you've got to be unbelievable all the time. Thiago also has been very unfortunate. He got injured very early on. He had COVID early on as well, and you've seen with a lot of players they haven't gotten into full fitness after COVID. As well as that, you've got to adjust to the Premier League. We've got to know that the Premier League is one of the toughest leagues in the world, and midfield is arguably the hardest position in one of the hardest leagues, because you're going to be targeted once you're such a big name with coming in with such hype. The midfielder is going to be like, we're going to show you what the Premier League is about, and go in and make like froth of them, as you should, obviously, as an opposition player. You often see like the players coming from the Bundesliga. It hasn't necessarily worked, especially in midfield. I mean, I'm sure you know with Sean, in terms of Havertz hasn't come in hitting the ground running. It's been quite tough for him. You've seen other players. It's just Donny van der Beek coming from the Eredivisie. He hasn't hit the ground running. I mean, you look at other positions, you had the likes of Pepe, who hasn't been able to hit it running. Yes, you do get the anomaly like Bruno Fernandes, who just absolutely can tear things apart. But it's more usual that it takes him a lot longer. And so it's going to take Thiago time to get used to the Premier League, I feel. And this talk that he's through, he's absolute rubbish, he's a flop. Yes, right now he's not playing well, but you've got to look at all the rest of the injuries as well. He's playing as basically the number 6 for Liverpool, and I don't feel like that's his best position. Like, he's not very good at tackling. He's not the best on the defensive front, and it just hasn't suited him yet. Once you've got, say, Fabinho back in that midfield with him, or Henderson, you can see him have a bit more freedom and the ability to pick out more passes, and you're going to see what he's actually made of, and then you might be able to judge whether he's a flop or is being all right. And I think it's just harsh to judge him too soon.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on that with Thiago. Kind of like, I know, like, he's obviously getting a grill on social media and stuff for his performances and that, but I definitely wouldn't write him off yet, because like when I'm talking to you, like Havertz hasn't hit the ground running either, and like I say I give him plenty of time. I think Havertz will come good, and I'm not gonna like expect Havertz to get time and not expect Thiago to I know he's a lot more experienced and older player and stuff, but I was like gonna say, like you said there with Fabinho, kind of when you see a Fabinho and that come back in, let's see what Thiago does then. Like when like Fabinho can kind of clean up on the tackling and defending sides, and leave Thiago do what he does best. So we'll see then, but yeah. I just think kind of the jury's out too soon on him, like. But that's exactly it. Like, it's way like he obviously he's a great player. Like, I've seen him for years and years with Barcelona and Munich. Like, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. But it's just a matter of it clicking.
He got into the team of the year last year. You know, FIFA's best 11. Like, you know, off the Champions League, he was one of Bayern's best players. Like, you know.
I definitely, definitely.
Like the one game where we had a full strength team was the Everton side, and he was fantastic in that game. You know, you have to wait till you have the players around him, because he's not a player that's going to box to box, break up play. Like that's why you have Henderson, Fabinho there. They kind of brought him in for that bit creativity that they don't have. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
look, it's going to take time for any player, foreign player. You can't judge them like straight away. You know,
yeah,
Havertz is only 19, like 20.
yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
and it don't matter the price tag. He didn't ask them to pay that much money for him. You know, it's not his
Exactly.
fault.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
look, it'll take time. They're serious players. You know, there's no doubt about
Yeah.
that. They just take time to settle into a new place where they're living. All them kind of stuff comes into it. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I think the two of them are definitely going to come good. You might see glimpses of it now before the end of the season, but I think maybe going into the summer when the teams get a proper pre-season and everything, and they have whatever they're like set on what players they have coming back, I think you'll see the two of them playing very well next year. You will get a good bit of it this year. You get the glimpses and stuff, but I think next year the two of them will definitely kick on. Just obviously we're talking about kind of like around about Thiago's performances and that so far. Just going to touch on Liverpool's last 4 home games they've lost. Before that, they hadn't lost in, I think it was like 68. Do you think that's a worry going into the game Thursday, Jack, or would you pay any attention to it?
I wouldn't really pay much to it, to be honest. You know, it's like since this whole season started with lockdown in other countries, you know, the away teams have more win percentage has gone up a lot, like, you know. So, but like at the end of the day, look, wherever they play, like they have to look. They should be used to it by now, you know. It's just another game like that. It's the media and they're putting more pressure on it, saying, look, they haven't lost in 4 games, but like they've won 60-something games unbeaten. That I wouldn't be worried about that at all, you know. It's going to be a tough game anyway against Chelsea. They've done well the last few weeks, so like, you know, it's going to be a tough game.
That's like I was saying, I wouldn't be paying any attention to it anyway because it's a Liverpool and Chelsea game, so no matter what the form is, it goes out the window. It's a big game, so the players they're surely going to be fired up anyway, regardless of that. But William, what was your opinion beyond Liverpool's kind of home form over the last couple of weeks?
It's been a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, when you look at the backline pairing, with Kabak having to come in and absolutely try and do a job when he's come in from feckin' Schalke, who hadn't won a game, barely any games all season. They're rooted well to the bottom of the league. You felt very hard and like it was going to be very tough for him. Obviously, as well, they don't have the defensive support in front of them in terms of like Thiago having to play the number 6, like in front of Kabak and Nat Phillips. I actually don't mind Nat Phillips. I don't think he's done too bad. There's been maybe 1 or 2 mistakes, but I don't think he's a bad defender. I actually think he's quite all right. But maybe not Liverpool's standard. But I mean, right now, it kind of has to be Liverpool's standard because it's what they need, and they're not going to play the young lad from feckin' Preston and bring him straight in because, Jesus, that would be even more of a step up than Schalke nearly. But honestly, you look at the home form, it's just the injuries has really cost them, and you can say, oh well, they have to be. It's a tough luck. Every team gets injuries, and you've got to move on with it. Yeah, they're trying to move on with it, but you're just going to see the difference in quality. I mean, I was watching the game against Sheffield United, and even then, I wasn't convinced in Liverpool's performance fully. And honestly, in the terms of this game against Chelsea, I don't really fancy their chances, and I don't think that the home form is anything to necessarily worry about. It's just the fact that with all these injuries, they're a bit stuck, and they just can't seem to get a bit of form at the moment. I mean, they have the 1 win against Sheffield United, but you have to try and get a consistent run. Otherwise, it's going to be tough on the players, and opposition's going to have confidence coming up against you.
Yeah, no, definitely. This is like we touched on earlier. I think it's just kind of centre back problems would kind of give you confidence issues in the Liverpool team. If it wasn't the way it was, obviously, like you'd be kind of wary going into a game against Liverpool, but you'd think a lot of teams will target that. Steve, what's your opinion on the home form of Liverpool?
Yeah, like I said earlier on, I think it's just the players, like with the injuries that are there, teams are kind of more willing to have a go at them. Like there was teams really, really feared Liverpool, especially at Anfield, and like people kind of saw just maybe just a little bit of weakness there to try and exploit it. Like again, like it's something that could have been there for a longer time, but nobody gave it a go until they felt there was an opportunity with the weaknesses that were there, and Liverpool having to kind of patch together a defence. But like, look, I don't think this is like the demise of Liverpool or anything like that by any means, you know. But as I said already, I think it's just teams will be more encouraged for the rest of the season, I think, to go at Liverpool now. So it will be really a test for them, because Liverpool, for the longest time, enjoyed the respect of teams sitting back and allowing them to have the ball and just trying not to lose to them.
Yeah, I think like a big issue with like teams going at Liverpool over the years is how obviously we've seen how devastating they are. You know, like in the counter, if they turned the ball over, it was turned out to be nearly a goal every time.
Over, yeah.
And even a couple of weeks ago now, we've seen Leipzig were fairly open against them, and Liverpool took advantage of it. But yeah, no, it's just like you said, kind of like the teams might be kind of being a bit braver in that. But yeah,
it's it's the games though against likes of Sheffield United, the likes of West Brom, that I'd be more worried about playing than actually the likes of Chelsea, the bigger teams. You know what I mean? The only big team you'd be afraid to play against the City, really, because they destroyed us. But other than that, like, I wouldn't be afraid of playing I'd be more afraid of playing against the lower side, because they're more route one. You know, they actually put more pressure on the centre half. You know,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, because like obviously I wouldn't say Phillips and Kabak are like the best in the air either. You know, like the likes of fucking Burnley and that's it, where they are giving the ball up there and they have big physical strikers. It's very effective.
It is. Mac Burnley done it well the other day against Liverpool. He was winning all the headers, you know. So
he's a good player, actually, Mac Burnley. Yeah, he does the job very well. But yeah, no.
It's a good. It'll be a game. It's a game to look forward to. You know, it'll be a good open game, I think, because the way Tuchel plays, he's not going to sit in against Liverpool. You know, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It'll be a good game, I'd say.
Yeah, no, definitely, it'll be very good. It'll be a lot better than the game earlier on the year. I know Liverpool beat us 2-0, but like I just don't think Lampard's teams really had a pattern of play, or they weren't too well organised. But like,
hopefully it'll be more entertaining than Chelsea's last game against United, although that wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. But
United play like that, though, don't they?
Yeah, no, they do. Yeah.
Against the big teams, they just sit in and hope for the draw. Like, you know, it's hard to play against that. Like,
very hard. They nearly nicked one at the end. Then McTominay, he scuffed it across, but that's exactly how they play. Yeah.
But they won't admit that.
No, they won't. No, they won't. No.
They play free flowing, full on attacking football.
They wanted a penalty to win the game. Come on.
Yeah.
But he definitely score it, you know, because if you get a penalty, it's a definite goal. That's the thing. Like, it's not like Bruno has never missed a penalty. I mean, he has missed 2 or 3 in the past for United.
Yeah, but if he misses him, he gets to take him a second time. So
yeah.
I would have expected him to score it, but still.
Yeah, no. I thought we definitely should have won the game the other day, but it's a kind of common theme under Tuchel. Hopefully, he can kind of fix it coming to the end of the year. Is that we're not kind of creating that many clear-cut chances, or we're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. Can be an issue, but I wouldn't be too worried about it this early. He's only come in there with a month, and at least we're looking a lot more organised and better on the ball. Hopefully that comes in time, but just kind of talking about Tuchel coming in there, I think it was obviously the right decision getting rid of Lampard. I just didn't hold any sentiment, and I thought he had to go with the way the players were playing. I don't think they were playing for him at all. And just in terms of predicting who would be the most likely, I think, to go into a top 4 out of Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea, I think they made the right decision, but I'm just not sure if they made it early enough. Whether we got enough points kind of in the games to have that much of a gap going into the run in the end of the season, because Chelsea have a very tough run. Out of the 3 sides, kind of Spurs, Chelsea and Liverpool, I'd still, as much as I want Chelsea to get, I think Chelsea and Liverpool could get in there, both of them, at the expense of West Ham, and I think Leicester might fall away, but if I had to go for the one, it'd be kind of Liverpool, I think, and it's just purely the experience of Klopp and what that squad have done the last 2 years. Like, Chelsea have brought in a few players, and like, none of them are relatively experienced in the Premier League. A few of them are young in that, and I'm just not sure whether they topple Liverpool to get into the top 4 if it came down to it with the run-ins and that there. I just think Klopp would make that bit of a difference, but overall, I do think West Ham and Leicester could drop out of it. I think Leicester could have the same kind of end of the year as last year. A few injuries as well if they get them, because I know they have a strong 11, but I'm not sure if they have too much off the bench this year. But Steve, in terms of the top 4, obviously we mentioned your team there as well, Spurs are still in with a shout. You have Chelsea and Liverpool. If you had to pick one of those sides to get in the top 4, who would you think?
I can't entertain a universe where West Ham finish in the top 4. No, look, I look with my loyalties and my allegiances to Spurs, I can still see us nicking it. But like I say, if I was to be impartial on it and say you can't see Liverpool missing out on top 4 really, despite everything. Like you've seen over the last couple of seasons, even at full strength, and even when they looked like they were going to die a death, they just always seem to pull something out. Yeah. Something seems to it's the old mentality like United had years ago. Like they play till the final whistle, and that's like you'd say like, oh yeah, like they get loads of late goals and stuff. But like say against Spurs, for example, like they pressed and they got their corner in the 91st minute, and from that then they scored. Leicester, I don't know. I just, especially now with Barnes and Maddison, they'll find it difficult. They'll find it very difficult. So I think there's 2 spots there in that top 4 up for grabs.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Chelsea are going to sneak it though.
I can definitely just like you said, there's a possibility 2 spots. I think if Leicester do take that bit of a dive, I think West Ham won't get it regardless. I think they're like, obviously they've good players, they're playing well at the moment, but they will have that bit of a nosedive and fall off.
We have a decent run in as well. That's the only thing I'm looking at. So like we've a very decent run in, and then we've Leicester on the last day of the season.
That'll be
There's a few interesting games actually in the last 2 weekends. Kind of, you have like Spurs, Leicester, Chelsea are playing Leicester. I think Chelsea have Villa, who are still there with a shout. I don't think they'll be there come that time, but yeah, there's a few big games coming up in those weeks.
Right, you look at, because before this podcast, ironically, I looked at every single team kind of around that areas where the rest of the fixtures and kind of put up points of most teams. Chelsea's last 4 games are Manchester City, Arsenal, Leicester, Aston Villa. Mm-hmm. Now that's really tough to play for.
Very tough.
When you consider Liverpool's last 4 are Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Crystal Palace.
Yeah. I just I know City are like there's no one going to beat City this year really, but I'm just hoping that they kind of have the league wrapped up by then. Hopefully you can get even a point out of that game. But obviously Arsenal have a good record against us. But it's the Leicester and Villa games. So I think if it comes down to it like last year, where we had the run in against those kind of teams, Wolves and that, I think we'll get results in those. But yeah, it's a very, like I said, it's a very tough run in with Chelsea. That's why I was kind of thinking maybe if they got Tuchel in even a week or 2 earlier in some of the other games, if they had a game or 2 in them when they played Wolves, picked up points there, and they might have been a bit safer. But yeah, if Leicester do nosedive, I can see Liverpool actually getting third if they can get a run of form together and get a few of them players back. See them getting third, and I can see the 4th spot then being up for grabs. I can see Chelsea, I can see Leicester obviously been there, and if Spurs can get a run together now, between now and the end of the season, they might be able to shout as well. But so William, and out of the 3 clubs there, do you think any of those are going to pip top 4, Chelsea, Liverpool or Spurs?
I think 2 of them. I think Chelsea and Liverpool actually might. To be honest, I'm not even convinced Man United might hold it up. I think they should with the quality they have, but if they slowly start nosediving, with pressure as well from other competitions. The other team that I'm also a little bit like, I don't know what to think of is Everton.
Yeah.
Especially with having Carlo Ancelotti in charge, no European football, while the rest of us are still all in European competitions. He'll be able to motivate them in a way that is like, right, this is not out of our control, and we can definitely do it. I think that's all right. In terms of the teams, like in terms of points, like I made the predictions obviously for every single team for the rest of them. I said like I think Spurs will pick up only about 20 odd points when I was going through the games. To be fair, I only have you losing like 2 more games. This is removing a few more anomalies. I think just about lose to Leicester, and I think lose to Everton, with just a few draws here and there coming up to cost you. Obviously, my predictions, though, I have us to finish ahead of Tottenham. because I will always say that. But to be fair, our run in is great, but our run in November cost us top 4, and it's such a shame not winning in 9 games in a row totally cost us. I have Liverpool gaining about 24 out of 36 points. That would leave them on about 67 points. And ironically, I have Chelsea also getting 24 points out of 36, which would leave them on 68 points, just about finishing ahead of them. When I was looking at the games left, it's a very similar run-in in terms of difficulty of fixtures. And I think Chelsea will just pip Liverpool in terms of just how their squad is performing and the new manager bounce. And West Ham will totally drop off, I feel, near the end of the season, losing some. And because they have a really difficult run of games. Like, they still have United, Arsenal, Leicester, Chelsea, still have like Everton plus a few teams down the bottom when it gets down to the final 3. Like, they have Brighton in their last 3 games, and Brighton will be fighting for their lives around that time. So I just think they'll drop off. Plus one injury to like Lingard or Mikel Antonio, and they'll be more screwed.
I actually think when you're kind of thinking of the run in Thursday is massive for both clubs. I think kind of like, obviously I think Liverpool like have the easier running, so it mightn't be as bad for those. But like Chelsea, like they have Liverpool and City still to play before the end of the season, and if we can, obviously Liverpool won't be at full strength Thursday if they have the centre backs in that they've had the last couple of weeks. I think if we don't take advantage of that, you could be in trouble, because there's a lot of games there Chelsea could get caught, and even if they're getting draws and dropping points, kind of between now and the end of the season, it could cost them. But yeah, I think Thursday is a massive game for Chelsea. So Jack, obviously big Liverpool fan. Do you see Liverpool getting into the top 4, or do you see any of the other two as well?
Yeah, I think Liverpool will get in top 4. Yeah. It's Thursday's game is a big game though. However, I think it's a good positive result out of that. It'll kick on, I think.
Yeah,
definitely. If we beat Chelsea, like, we go ahead, and they're not too far off West. I wouldn't be worried about West Ham, to be honest. Like, they've just had a good run of games lately. It's any team once they get a few run of games, other teams seem to be dropping points left, right, and centre. So you just seem to shoot up the table. I think with Leicester having Maddison now and Harvey Barnes looks to be out for a while. I think they struggled against Arsenal today. They didn't look great at all. Arsenal seemed to be just getting in at them all the time. Like, so I think Rodgers always seems to that nitty gritty, but he never seems the same last year. They didn't win in like 9 or 10 games, and thrown it away. Really, they should have really got top 4 last. Could be the same this year. They'll miss out, I think. I think Liverpool and Chelsea could, going off the way Chelsea have been playing lately now, but it could change after if they lose Thursday, and they slip up in a few other games. You just don't know. Thursday is the big game for both teams. Whoever gets the positive result, I think it'll kick on.
Yeah, definitely. And if Liverpool can get that win, like we said, like they kind of the easier running towards Chelsea, so I think Liverpool could be a bit of a shoe in if they can get the win Thursday and kind of build on the 2-0 win against Sheffield. Kind of,
it's your classic 6-pointer, really, isn't it? Like, and then as well as that, then I mean, it's like Jack said, it's like, I suppose, like for the head as well, for the mentality of both clubs, like to see like the step you'd make or a step you take, sorry, you say, from that result would be massive towards the rest of the season. Like,
you're looking at if Liverpool beat Chelsea, they're going into the weekend, they're playing Fulham. Like, you think you'd have good confidence. It's all about momentum, really. Keep going.
Hopefully, Fulham will be reeling from a devastating hammering across the nose.
But that's
it's great to talk.
Yeah. I see City are gone 2-1 up. There was 1-1 for a while, but City are gone 2-1 up last time. So there's a few United Common fans in the live comments there hoping it was going to stay 1-1, but I don't know what they were hoping for, because that league is over already. So,
I mean, if they're in with a chance of coming on top of the league, then we're in a chance of finishing ahead of Man United, because we're only 1 point in the difference.
No, exactly. So just kind of we're touching on kind of Rodgers there, like he doesn't get down to the nitty gritty stuff. Steve, in terms of Tuchel and Klopp, where would you have them in, like, kind of, I know you're ranking your managers in the Premier League. Obviously, Klopp is up there at the top, really, him and Pep and that. But where would you place the two managers?
You see, like, Tuchel is kind of, it's an unknown. I mean, like, he's done so well, but then, like, you get the boot at PSG. in a league where like everyone kind of jokes, say like, I mean, if you can't win the league with PSG, you know, but what I've seen so far is that he seems to be like incredibly like tactically aware, which is the massive difference between him and Lampard. You know, Lampard was the guy that I would assume that like Lampard's like pre-match talks and halftime talks were very motivational. He'd be very animated and very passionate. But I would say it's a lot of like just run around a bit more, you know, kick the ball longer and harder and faster, you know. Whereas I think Tuchel, I think would be very composed and very tactical and would give people like a specific plan and instruction as to like what to do going out there. And you can see that in Chelsea's game. Do you know, you can see that players aren't kind of not that they're like kind of restricted to a set of instructions, but they seem to have a bit of I suppose like tactical awareness about themselves and a bit of like it just they look organized, really well organized. And you can see like even when they're playing, like say when they're playing three at the back, like it's not really three at the back. It's almost like two centre backs and one kind of defensive mid who kind of drops in and out as well in possession or out of possession, you know. So I think there's an awful lot that goes on, I'd say, during the week with Tuchel in terms of actual tactics and that like that. And I'd say that's paying off big time. Whereas I think under Lampard, like I've said it before on the podcast, I think 15 years time, I think Lampard would be a good manager. I think he'd have the experience of this kind of thing and how to handle these kind of situations and the pressure of being on a bad run of that a little bit better. I think Chelsea was too big too soon for him. So look, it remains to be seen. But I think Tuchel, as much as I don't like to see Chelsea do well, I think he will do well for Chelsea.
Yeah, no, it looks like he's tactically shooting that. Like it looks like he knows what he's doing compared to what kind of we were playing like when Lampard was there at the start of the year. But he seems to make adjustments. Like what I noticed against Spurs, I think it was about 20-25 minutes into the game, you could see that he was barking instructions and Chelsea changed. You could always immediately see the way Chelsea changed how they were playing to adapt to how we had set up. Do you know? Yeah, and I think under Lampard, that just wouldn't have happened. No, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Lampard was kind of the same thing, give it to the fullbacks, cross the ball in, kind of. I think we're playing a lot more to the centre now under Tuchel as well. And like you said, it's a lot more organised. And he can change it up. And the thing about him is, like a lot of the time with Lampard, we weren't seeing subs until kind of the 75th, 80th minute when it was kind of a bit too late. Now Tuchel, like he'll make changes when he knows the team needs him or they need a boost. And the thing about him that I like is there was 2 games this year now. Like kind of the other day, it kind of baffled me when he kept kind of Ziyech on with how poor he was playing in the first half. And there was another game not so long ago. Oh yeah, the Hudson-Odoi change. When he brought Hudson-Odoi on, took him back off. He's been getting some of them wrong. But like he obviously he's owned up after the game, but like it's just that he's actually trying things. And under Lampard, if a game was going to stale or if we looked like we weren't going to do it, he wouldn't change it up when he was waiting until the 75th and 80 minutes. So I think that's a bit refreshing under Tuchel and stuff. But the kind of the biggest difference I think between the two that not many fans are mentioning online, obviously Lampard's been massive at, like Chelsea is kind of a bit protected, is the man management. I think Tuchel's a lot better at dealing with players and kind of like he obviously brought a few players in from the cold and that. And I think Lampard, obviously there was only a few clashes before he left with some of the players, but I just think he threw a lot of them under the bus in press conferences and that stuff, and it doesn't work out. Like Mourinho used to do it at the start when he was with Chelsea, and it worked back then when the players kind of like mentality wise, like they were a lot tougher and they could take it all on and they were well able to play the games after. But nowadays, kind of with social media, the whole lot, everything gets blown out, and I just don't think Lampard dealt with players in press conferences that well, and Tuchel's very, very good at doing it and getting the players fired up. In terms of like ranking, I think it's a toss of a coin between Klopp and Pep. Like obviously 2 top coaches, like they have their own pros. Like obviously Klopp has been with Dortmund where like he didn't spend a lot of money, he got him to a league title, Champions League, and like Pep, a lot of people kind of go on about him spending money and kind of building very expensive teams, but like it's easy to buy expensive players, but he still has to get out there and get them on the field and get them working together. But yeah, it's a toss of a coin between both of those.
That's a very good point about the Like you can buy all the players in the world, like, but I mean, you can't just put like name 1 to 11 and say, right, go out and play.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. He's obviously a top coach. Pep. He's done it, and the three obviously they're Barcelona, City, Munich. Obviously the three kind of biggest clubs at the time, kind of not biggest but best teams at the time in the league, and he's coming in. But yeah, it's a toss of a coin. It's a matter of opinion between both those two, and I still actually have Carlo Ancelotti ahead of Tuchel. I think Carlo is kind of just behind the other two. I think he'd be just a level below Klopp and Pep at the moment. And obviously you have Mourinho there, who hasn't been doing too well the last couple of years. It's kind of, you can have your arguments for him and Tuchel, I think, at the moment. But yeah, I'd have Klopp and Pep at top, and then Carlo just below them. Jack, what's your opinion on kind of where those managers fare in the league, kind of rankings of managers?
Yeah, look, it's a matter of opinion on who you want, Klopp or Pep, what style you want their team to play, stuff like that. Like I won't be hard to manage the Barca side, to be honest. Like when they were the best side in the world, then you know what I mean. They had Messi, like, and stuff like that, and then you had an excellent Bayern side. Like people do say, he's at the one into side where they have everything. They've players there that would walk onto any other side, but like, you still have to come in and put your own stamp on it as well, and get to play the way that you want him to play. He's a great manager as well. Look, it's a toss up between the two of them. Like, it all depends on what you want. If you want Klopp, the way he plays, break, fast swingers, good strikers, hard working midfielders. And like Klopp did take harder routes. Like what he's after doing with Liverpool is phenomenal. Like where we were 5 years ago, and now to be where we were. What he's after doing with the side, and he is after building teams from the ground, really. Same with Dortmund. He develops players, like, and seems to be like, he made Robertson into a world class fullback. From 8 million, like Trent. He brought in Mane, Salah. You have all them, like, So it's a matter of opinion who you want. Look, I think Pep's world class. I'd have either or, but like, the way what Klopp's after doing for us is just phenomenal. But like, other than that, other than them two, like, it's a toss up really between. I do think Tuchel's world class, and the only reason he got let go with PSG is because they lost the Champions League final. It's not because they win a league or that over there. They win the league every year over there anyway.
Yeah,
and they really did miss out on that Champions League last year. I tipped them to win it from nearly the start. Really, to be honest, I always liked them, and they're dangerous with Mbappe and them. It's those who, if you don't win a Champions League with them, the owners seem to just get rid of you. You know what I mean? It'll be the same with Pochettino. Like, if they don't win a Champions League, he could be gone. That's the way they just keep doing that over there. The league is nothing over there for them. It shouldn't be with the money they have anyway. But
definitely. Yeah.
Klopp was very lucky too, I think, in terms of like his first season or 2 seasons weren't great, But Liverpool, like, knew what they had in him. They had the patience to work with him and give him the rebuild that he was looking for, and they got it wrong with some players, but in the end, they kind of just turned around and said, okay, and they got their 2 big targets, Alisson and Van Dijk, and boom, and that just.
But like, he still got the side to it. He still got that side to Europa League final as well, and
but that's what I'm saying. Like, they knew what they had in him, and I think like.
It's nowadays you don't really get managers don't seem to get that time either, So you have to be willing to be with owners that, like, you're sitting down with them. Look, I need such and such time to build this team to where you think that you want them to go. But the Liverpool owners seem to be shrewd like that. They done the same with the baseball club. That when they took over them, they were down near the bottom, and then they won the world championship. But that they seem to have that structure of how to build, like, So look, He obviously have a good relationship with them, and they gave him the time, and it pays off. But in football, things don't last forever, So you have to keep going. And like when they're playing bad, fans be looking for your head, which is ridiculous. Look, it is what it is with people,
Yeah,
that's what I was kind of alluding to. I was like, it'd be hard to say, like, in a top 6 club nowadays to think that they'd be given 2 years like Klopp was. To get the house in order and that, like, it's like, but it shows that it does work. I mean, but nowadays it's just all they want an instant impact, And I think, like, even like look at, say, Pochettino at Spurs, like, he got 5 years, Like even that, like I don't think you'll ever see that again at a top club. Where I'd say five years would say and not have won something. I think, regardless, that they'd be shown the door.
Yeah. I think now nowadays the only two kind of coaches that are going to get granted that at clubs are probably Klopp and Pep, where they've kind of done that before, and clubs may keep faith in them. But any other manager, I think, is not going to get that. No, definitely not. William, obviously, I know you don't really rate Tuchel, but where do you think the two managers rank in the Premier League?
Look, if I'm being completely honest, I'll eat a little bit of humble pie and say that I've been very impressed with what he's done with Chelsea. I think tactically they've massively improved, and I've been not pleasantly surprised, but I've been very surprised with how Chelsea have set up, and I've been impressed with Chelsea recently. So I say I didn't rate him just because I saw more so the results rather than the teams he managed. So maybe that's through lack of proper watching. But look, I'll take it back and we'll see how he does with Chelsea. I don't think he's had enough time to properly rate him, so I can't fully rate him.
Yeah.
So overall, I'll take Klopp first. But overall, if you're looking at terms of managers, I think Pep is the best manager in the Premier League for me. And then you'll have Klopp. And then after that, it's a matchup between Ancelotti and Bielsa, personally. Because I think Bielsa, what he's able to do with that lead side is pretty amazing, how he can make them play such an amazing football. I know what you can say about their defence, but I mean, look at their team in general. It's not actually that very impressive, and I'd argue they're slightly overachieving, but that's because of how good their manager is and how good Bielsa is at getting what he wants from a side, and through repetition of doing it over the last 3 years. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, he's done a very, very good job at Leeds. I actually did always rate Bielsa. Not sure where I'd have him in the manager rankings, but yeah, I definitely always rated him, and he's definitely overachieving with that team, because a lot of those players there kind of, like, you wouldn't have expected them to make that much of a step up from the Championship as to what they're doing. Like, they're flying it under him, but yeah, no, it's not.
He just needs to learn how to win in London.
Yeah.
He hasn't done it as a manager yet with Leeds in any of the leagues. So
yeah. So then we'll just go on to obviously a bit of a fun part of the show. Combined 11 of the players who are fit between Chelsea and Liverpool. I'll just go with the outside view first, and maybe leave the kind of two supporters of the clubs going to go last. But Steve, what would your combined 11 be?
Well, if you're saying fully fit, I don't think there's much argument as to who'd be in goal anyway. Alisson. Then look, it's you can't not put the two Liverpool fullbacks in there. Like, you know, it's just the way they play. Like, it's kind of arguably, like, it's probably changed how a lot of fullbacks play or are looked at. You know, because like it wasn't a really exciting position as such, or glamorous position. I think like they've shown like the importance of that high energy, intense, high press fullback. So those two boys, Silva and Van Dijk for me. Like, I'd actually love to see the two of them play together. A centre back, I'd say, it'd just be incredible. The midfield though, like, it's something that I don't know. Like again, like the stats you put in today was Kovacic or Jorginho, sorry, this season.
Yeah, he was compared to Rice. Yeah, I was actually shocked at those stats. Like.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Like, that to me kind of like went, hang on a second. And then like I was looking back at his, I went on the sofa score, looked at his ratings, and I was like, Jesus, I hadn't actually realised or given him the credit like that he would be due, you know.
Like, I wouldn't be giving him either. Yeah, I kind of like, I have my issues with Jorginho, obviously, like kind of like stamina wise and the way he runs and stuff. He's not like, obviously physically he's not like as good as some of the other players in the league, but those stats actually kind of surprised me today in comparison.
Yeah, he's not like your like he doesn't make like he's not a big presence in games.
Yeah,
which oftentimes is a sign that he's just doing his job and doing it right. You know what I mean? Like, arguably says like Spurs, like Højbjerg, the way he plays, like, I mean, he doesn't do standout stuff. He breaks passing, he wins the ball, and plays 5-10 yard passes. Do you know?
Yeah.
But like as I said, midfield. I mean, if Thiago weren't made of Weetabix, but you have to put him in there. He's just when he's on the ball, he's enjoyable to watch. Like, you know, and then like if you're going to go say like a 4-2-3-1, I mean, like Salah and Mane are just like. Mane is unbelievable. Like I keep looking back, and like Spurs fans will always like go back to there's like articles at the time where we were heavily linked with Mane, and we had a deal nearly done and all this kind of shit, like, you know. And it's just like it's just depressing, like, you know, because Mane is he's absolutely brilliant. I really, really like him. But then I'd like to think Werner will come good for Chelsea. I just think there's too much talent there for him to not. Sure, that kind of way. And I'm a big fan of Pulisic as well. I don't like Mason Mount, sorry.
Jack won't be happy Jack Clemson won't be happy to hear that, but sure.
No.
Will, so from an outside view again, what would your 11 be?
So with my one, right, I'll give the kind of two opinions because I wrote with only the players that I thought were fit kind of for this weekend. So I've said Alisson in goal, obviously, assuming he'd be back from this morning, obviously. God bless him. Rest in peace, his father. Personally, I can't get past Reece James at right back, and I know people will be shocked in terms of saying, you can't really leave Trent out. I just feel like Reece James offers a little bit more in terms of the defensive front, and I think he can offer as much in the offensive front.
Like actually
with a little bit more time. I think, like you've seen it, he definitely has the ability moving forward. And look, I just really rate Reece James. It's not me saying that I don't not rate Trent at all. I think the two of them would be the top two right backs in the league in terms of their overall ability offensively and defensively. Obviously, defensively, the best defender right back is Wan-Bissaka, but his attacking lets him down to go behind the other two. In centre backs, well, if they were fit, it would be Van Dijk and Thiago Silva. However, in terms of the fitness, between Liverpool's centre backs and Chelsea's centre backs, there seems to be no extremely good options in centre back. So the two I wrote down were Kurt Zouma and Rudiger, personally, because I think with the four in the back, I think would be just, I think the two of them, I'm not sure with Christensen in the back four, he doesn't really fill me confidence. I thought Rudiger did all right against Man United. I don't think he had quite a bad game. I thought he did quite well and played well. So who knows? He might get a new lease of life at Chelsea now under Tuchel. You never know. Left back Robertson. I think that speaks for itself. Chelsea don't really have any left backs, but other than that, I think he's probably the best left back in the league. Even though I love Kieran Tierney, so I'd say he'll be second best. But I think Robertson is just world class in terms of what he does and what he offers. Hasn't been as much this season, but again, it's been harder for Liverpool because they get targeted more, and with the injuries, it's going to affect everyone in the team and the balance. So I've played like 4-3-3. So I have N'Golo Kante as the one kind of holding midfielder because I feel like he can do the role of sweeping up in front of everyone. And I still completely rate Kante. How he took Bruno out of the game in terms of Chelsea and Man United was just a great performance by him in terms of coming back. And I feel like hopefully you'd kind of see him flourish for Chelsea, but obviously you feel like he might be leaving, which I think could be a bit of a shame. But if he needs a new challenge, he needs a new challenge. You've seen how good he is for years. In front of them two, I've put Thiago and Mason Mount. I think if you had the passing ability of Thiago and the ability to find space and just be on the ball and pick up space, and not pick up the space, but be able to pick out the passes he's able to do, and the ability, I really rate Mason Mount. Not just because he's on my fantasy, but for that reason, I've actually been watching him a lot more and just see what he does. His ability to pick out pockets of space and always find the free area on the pitch, I really rate him and how he's able to do a lot of things. It's just his end product isn't quite there yet. And I feel once he picks that up, then you're going to see a seriously quality player. And there's reasons why every single manager has picked him into the team, and he's been one of the first names on the team sheet, whether it be Southgate, whether it be Tuchel, or whether it be Lampard. There is a reason, and I rate him personally. In terms of the front three, I've gone for Salah on the right, Mane on the left. Even though they haven't had the best of the season, they've got loads of quality. Obviously, Salah's the top goal scorer in the league. So the two of them are in. And up top in the middle, I've gone Timo Werner. I think he'll have a lot more to offer. I think you've seen a little bit of improvement in terms of Tuchel, not necessarily in terms of getting goals, but in what else he offers for the rest of the team. I feel like you're going to see a lot more of him moving forward. And
solid enough size. Very good shouts in there. Then Jack, what would your combined 11 be?
I'll just go off team players that are fit, like for this game. You know what I mean? I would go Alisson in goal. Like, you can't go past Alisson, really. You know, to be fair, like, you know, I did go with Liverpool's two fullbacks, Trent and Robertson, just to what they offer to the side. Like, James is a great player. Just Trent. And the last couple of weeks, he's been very good. You know, his delivery is just frightening when he's on form. You know, and he offers so much that you'd expect. Like, the reason Klopp loves him as well, because when you do have these two natural centre halves, they do cover in, and Henderson usually covers the slot, or Fabinho. You know what I mean? They tend to, when he gets caught out, they kind of cover him. That's why they do. Like, you know, I did go with the two Chelsea centre halves. I went Rudiger and Zuma, just for a bit of pace, really. You know, if they do get caught out, that they cover him. You know. I played like a 1 with a 2 kind of 10s. Kante, because he cover 3-4 players, you know, he gets around and he breaks up the play a lot, you know. And I went for like 2 kind of younger players, just because of the first one. I went Curtis Jones because of the way he's playing lately. He's quality, you know. He don't have it. He just seems to get on the ball all the time. Don't lack in confidence, cocky player, and I love that. You know, he's a great player, and he was the man of the match against Sheffield the other night. He's brilliant, like, you know. And I went Mason Mount beside him because I rate Mason Mount. I think he's quality, you know, the way he plays, being number 10 myself, and the little pockets he picks up, he's so clever for his age, you know. He's only going to get better, you know, and it's no coincidence why Lampard had him in the side all the time, plays for England all the time. You know, I think 2 of them would be not good flair side, you know. I go with Giroud up top because we need that kind of, on my side, you need someone to hit and play off, you know, with Salah on one side and Mane on the other side. I just think with Giroud just staying, and then he'd always be in the box. And then you'd have the 2 boys then just do what they do all the time, you know. So I just kind of I went for something a bit different as well. Like, I could have put in Thiago or whatever, but I just said because Jones is playing well, and I really do rate him. I think he's going to be a brilliant player. And the last couple of weeks, Klopp, Liverpool's probably, apart from Genie, like Genie's being ever present in the Liverpool side, you know, he's brilliant. Like, but Curtis Jones has held his own since he's been in there. He's quality in Champions League as well, you know. And just think he's a good talent, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really rate him. Hadn't seen much of him before this season, but after watching the good few Liverpool games this year, he's been very, very good. No, that's a very solid side, especially kind of when you're picking from players who are fit to play on Thursday. Fairly similar to mine. Obviously went with Alisson in goal. I think he's a level or 2 above what Chelsea have. Then left back, I think, was kind of the easiest position to pick on the team. I have Robertson straight in because I think Chelsea lack at left back. Right back, a bit controversial like William. I went for James. I think Trent is obviously just, he's out of his world. Like, he's crossing, going forward with the ball, and what he gives to the team, kind of, you have that outlet down the right hand side. But I'm just a massive fan of James. I think he's really well balanced, and he can offer. He's not as pacey as Trent, but I think he's crossing. Like, there's no one crossing on the level of Trent, but I think James, probably out of fullbacks in the league, he probably runs them closest. Before we actually done the pod, I thought Fabinho was fit for Thursday, and Silva is fit enough to play. I had Silva and Fabinho, but if you're going for 100% fit who's been playing the last while, I'd be in agreement with the previous two teams, just with Rudiger and Zuma in there. I just don't think Azpilicueta offers the height in the two. Playing in the 3 suits him down to the ground. And then in midfield again with a 3, went for Kante as the whole midfielder. Obviously, you've seen what he done to Bruno the other day. Bruno's been on fire this year and just completely shut him out. Bruno didn't get a touch of the ball all game. Then in midfield, like I was so close to putting in Curtis Jones. I really like him. And to be honest, if you're going on form, I would have Jones in there. But I had gone for Thiago just because of what I think he's actually capable of and what he brings to the team and like the experience he has there. I went for him and I went for Mason Mount. Obviously under Lampard, Mount was always in the team week in, week out. Start of the year, he wasn't great, been played out of position, and I kind of had my doubts. But since Tuchel has come in, he's gone up another level. I think he's been exceptional. He's easily our best player since him and Kovacic are best players since Tuchel came in. But yeah, I think Mount is a phenomenal player, and like Jack said, he will get better. Just in terms of kind of going off form, like I really like Werner, and obviously he hasn't kind of reached the heights this season yet as he had done in Germany in last season. Just purely because of that, at this moment, I didn't want to kind of stick him in there. So I went with a bit of an outlet, and I know he's played there a couple of times for Liverpool, but I put Salah up front. And then on the wings, I have Mane obviously on the left, but I have Hudson-Odoi playing off the right with how well he's been playing with Chelsea. And I think he's a really, really talented player again. He'll give you exactly on the other side what, obviously not to the same level, but what Mane will give you on the other side is running at defenders and causing problems. And he's also good at, like, he can press and close them down. He'll put in that shit for the team. So that's the team that I had gone for. In a combination of the two. Obviously, it's a small bit different if you have Van Dijk in that fit. He walks into the team and that. But yeah, like if I was picking a team, like out of the kind of fit players and how they've been playing lately, between the two, that'd be it. Obviously, two strong sides. You're kind of getting options from both teams in the combined 11s. They'll be clashing on Thursday. So, Jack, just looking ahead to the game, what would your predicted result be? How do you see it going Thursday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an open game. To be fair, you know, it's there, but it's toss of a coin. Like, you know,
yeah.
As a Liverpool fan, I'm always going to kind of edge towards Liverpool side, but like it could go anyway, you know, and it's going to be a tight game. Like, obviously, if Liverpool had the players that are fitting, that I'd always back Liverpool, you know, the way they've been playing lately. But it's going to be a tight game. I think it'd be Liverpool will win 2-1, but look, that could go anyway, you know. I just think the way our two centre halves and we're kind of slack enough there, and teams seem to be getting in too easy and stuff like that, you know. But I do think Liverpool will cause Chelsea trouble going the other way, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And especially the way they've been playing lately, like in United's few chances that they got the other day, you know, small little things, and it's so hard, like with Mane and Salah making them out in runs, you know, and especially if you play with a 3 as well, you know, it's that space down the flanks for the two fullbacks. I think it'll be a big help to Liverpool too. But look, it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a good game. It's a game I'm looking forward to watching as well, you know.
Yeah, so definitely.
I'll just go Liverpool 2-1. It'll be a close game though, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very solid show. What you said there is exactly what I was going to touch on. What I think could work for Liverpool is, you said, Mane and Salah there, with Chelsea playing with the 3, kind of the space they could get in there, they could do damage. That could be one of the kind of game changers for me. And then also
going off, like Sheffield United play with a 3, you know, and just going on, they changed their formation at second half. They went with a back 4. They took off the third choice centre half. You know, they went 4-4-2 basically, and that caused Liverpool more trouble really than the 3-5-2. You have to be so good at playing that, like, and they play that all the time. And Liverpool seem to be getting so much space down Robertson's side and Trent. Yeah. So look, obviously Tuchel will have his own things. Like, he's the manager, you know. He's screwed on, you know. So it'll be a good game, but I do think they'll get. That's where Liverpool are strong, is down the flanks. They're so good at getting, and they'll just keep putting balls in, you know. So, but look, it'll be a good game, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And like what I was thinking with that, what you said with the fullbacks kind of getting a lot of space there, I think Mane and Salah are definitely smart enough to be able to kind of tuck into those pockets there. When like the fullbacks are overlapping, like there's going to be pockets in between, they'll definitely be smart enough to be getting in there. Could cause plenty of trouble. Like, Just myself, just purely because of the centre backs that could be playing for Liverpool, and then obviously I said that's the problem with Chelsea there with the three at the back. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be the same outcome as Chelsea United, obviously a point each, but both teams are actually going to go for this one, not sit back and kind of just wait on the counter attack. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think it'll be a draw like the other day, but it'll be a much more entertaining game than what Chelsea United was. But yeah, obviously I'd be buzzing with a win, and if there ever was a time to kind of play Liverpool, it'd be kind of Thursday when the centre backs are what they are. But yeah, hoping for a win, but my head's telling me kind of 2-2 draw. So from an outside view, Steve, how do you see Thursday going?
I think it will boil down to who Chelsea play at fullback or wing back.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously the other day, I think like going with Chilwell and Hudson-Odoi was to deal with the pace that United have on their wings, and I feel like that's probably the likely approach for Liverpool. But I think Liverpool have too much about them up top for the Chelsea defence at the moment. So again, like I'd agree with Jack. I reckon 2-1 Liverpool. It won't be easy for them at all. I think like the Chelsea United game was a 0-0 because of how United played, not because of how Chelsea played.
Yeah.
And I feel like Hudson-Odoi and Chilwell will do well up against Liverpool's wingers, but I think they just have a little bit too much for them. I think. Ideally, as being a Spurs fan, a draw would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Probably be the best result for you, like both teams dropping points. But yeah, William, outside view, how do you see Thursday going?
I've made my prediction. Must be the only one now. I think Chelsea are going to nick a win. I think they're going to win 2-1. I think it's going to be not a cagey game, quite an open game, but I feel like both teams are going to miss a nice amount of chances. Like, you've looked at Chelsea in the past few games. Yes, they played amazing, but they haven't been a mix of clinical or good with their final chance. Yeah. I think against the two Liverpool centre-backs, you'll get a little bit of joy eventually. And once you get into the second half, I think you'll get a goal or two. And the same, I think, in terms of if he played a three at the back, I think Liverpool will get a bit of joy going down the other end, but they haven't been necessarily scoring loads and loads of goals like they used to as well. But I think Salah will just about pick up one goal. So personally, I think it'll be a very close game, but I think Chelsea are going to nick it, and Tuchel's unbeaten run's going to continue. And I'm also going to predict a Rudiger goal from a header.
Yeah, no, hopefully your prediction is going true now. I'd love that, but yeah, no, it's mixed. Obviously, then 2 Liverpool wins, Chelsea win, the draw predictions in the show. But I think a lot's going to be told with the lineups like an hour before kickoff, what way they're lined up. I don't think it's a game for Giroud at all. I think if you're going to be playing against Liverpool, who are going to press you, I think you obviously need like a Werner. Obviously, he hasn't been that clinical this year, but the pace to kind of get in behind. If we line up like we did against United with like a Giroud and a Ziyech there, I don't think we're going to cause too many problems. I think like Kabak and Phillips, obviously they're not the greatest defenders, but I think they'll battle it out with Giroud. Like Giroud is obviously a very good player, but with the high line they'll have, I think when you keep him far away from goal, he's not as effective. So I just think a lot will be kind of telling with the lineups just when they come out before it. Yeah. So, like, we touched off everything there tonight now. Hopefully, we're going to be in for a bit of a crack on Thursday. Better than the game there on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it anyway and see how the teams line up and how Klopp and Tuchel fare. Obviously, they know each other well enough just to see how to gauge kind of what the team's going to be like kind of going towards the end of the season, the running, and we'll know a lot more Friday morning about kind of what way the top 4 might start to shape up. But just before we go, we have another podcast tomorrow night in the London Lowdown. I'm interviewing an accredited journalist, so it's Nishal Swagger. So he's coming on tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So for all the viewers, make sure to tune into that one. And then go around, like I'll do a sweep around the table. So Jack, do you want to shout out like your Twitter handle or whatever to the viewers?
Yeah, it's just JackDoc11 on Twitter, and same on Instagram or whatever you want to jump on or anything,
Yeah.
I'll be on there anyway.
Yeah, make sure to follow Jack, guys. Obviously, Liverpool fans there as well, and he's good football and opinion. So just make sure to follow Jack, and you can interact with him there. Jack will obviously be appearing on more podcasts as well. Then Steve, do you want to give out your handles?
That's me on Facebook and Twitter and on Instagram and on SoundCloud.
Perfect. That's perfect. Now shout out all the handles you have, and guys, make sure to follow Steve there as well. And then William.
Twitter, Willie at Willie Chili Bry. It's also my PSN name, not that matters. Me Instagram, William_Bryant17. And obviously, if you haven't already, follow the Weekly Armchair.
The Weekly Armchair. Yeah, that's the important one. Make sure to hit a like on the video as well. Obviously, underneath my image there, that's my Twitter handle if anyone wants to give it a follow. Obviously, a lot of football talk there, and I'll obviously welcome any followers. Thanks a million for coming on tonight, guys. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we look forward to the game on Thursday.
Good advice.
Thanks for having us on, Sean.
Have a good one.